Morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah,
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
morning. So today, after the chemistry of amino acids and proteins, so we'll go to the digestion and absorption, and then we'll go to the metabolism of proteins. So what I suggest you is today's class is independent, like digestion and absorption. It's a very small topic. So once you understand the concepts, this will not require the revisiting, like revision is not required for this topic, but you'll have to understand a few things which I'll be telling that this is quite important and you'll have to study it. So what I request you before the start of the metabolism of proteins, which is going to be shortly, is to revise the chemistry of amino acids. Understood? So what are these acidic amino acids, aromatic amino acids? It should be on your fingertips, right? It should be so well versed that when we go to the metabolism of amino acids, you will have to know what is the carbon skeleton, what is the amino group, because each amino acid is going to be metabolized in a different way. So it will be grouped as acidic amino acids, aromatic amino acids, and so on and so forth. So what I would suggest you is that if you really want to understand the metabolism, because there are many other people who just come here for attendance and do not respond to what I tell or what I do. So it has really curbed my enthusiasm a bit, but at least one student is enthusiastic to hear my class. That is it, right? It's my duty, and as well as I feel for that student. So I would request that student or the students who are interested to brush up their chemistry of amino acids. Okay, that said and done. So sit back and relax. This is a very small topic, and let's start the digestion and absorption, because we have understood what all goes. So the specific learning objectives of this class particularly is, this class is also important to understand your protein. Like we always have this protein intake badao, protein intake badao. So how it is digested and absorbed, which are the other things that really help in understanding the proteins, because nowadays biochemistry should, and it is a major underlying influence of how the nutrition science is working. So biochemistry has been projected or extrapolated to include nutrition, because otherwise there is no point in reading all this metabolism for a doctor. So this is important because there are so many other things that really happen with what you advise to a patient, right? So you would like to know the sources of the proteins and what happens in exactly the digestion, whether it happens in the mouth or also in the stomach and the intestine, what exactly it undergoes in all these three organs, as well as how the other organs contribute to the digestion, and how are the amino acids absorbed, because the hue and cry is about increase your protein intake, increase your protein intake, but how much of protein should be taken in, and what are the things that really help to absorb that we have taken. Okay, try and understand what is this free amino acid pool. Amino acid pool could be a 3 marks question, so understand what does this mean, and how does this protein synthesis happen with these units, that are the amino acids, and how they are degraded, and few things about nitrogen balance. Again, nitrogen balance could be a 5 marks question or a 3 marks question. So we will end this with having a balance. Okay, then the next classes, there are around 10 classes that will happen for the actual metabolism of each amino acids. So this class is just a link between the chemistry and the metabolism proper. So these are our specific learning objectives for this class. So nothing much to explain. So the metabolism of proteins will include that of the dietary proteins that we have taken, and also the tissue proteins that we know that they undergo a lot of turnover, this tissue protein turnover. So what happens to those proteins? Okay, and you should understand that excess of amino acids are not stored. They are not stored for the future use in incorporation as proteins, but they are catabolized, that is, they are broken down and they are excreted. So this should make that every day you have to have optimum protein intake. It's not like that Sunday I'm going to have my protein intake and the other days I'm not bothered. So they are not going to be stored. So what are the sources of dietary proteins? Plants, they don't have clean protein as such, but we do have this complementing the amino acid profile. It's called as dal ke saath roti, rice ke saath dal, right? These are complementing the amino acid profile. That is, if one cereal is lacking in certain amino acids, they are complemented by the other those amino acids which are found in the pulses. Okay, nuts, beans, and some fruits. I don't remember which fruits are a protein source, but it is given as small amount of proteins could be found. That is the amino acids. Okay, these are the plant sources. Coming to the animal sources, eggs, are very good. They are called as first class proteins. You will understand that in nutrition when we undergo what is this first class proteins. Milk and milk products are also good source of protein. Meat, fish, and all the other animal products are good sources. So we do need cooking for this, because cooking will cause the denaturation of protein because we are using heat, and this will enable better digestion and absorption of the proteins that we are taking in. Okay, so the raw food diet is a bit of imbalance. We won't survive on raw food diet, with especially with the milk and these meat products, right? So I really like this slide. So this is an understanding of what is this digestion, what is this absorption, and what metabolism is, right? So digestion will help the nutrients to be broken down and absorbed. So the exact absorption process starts after the breaking down and when they are absorbed into the blood. So that will enable them to be utilized. So what is this metabolism is? It refers to both anabolism and catabolism, right? So all the chemical changes which will take place in the body is referred to as metabolism. So when it is used for building up proteins, it is called as anabolism, and the breaking down is called as catabolism. So digestion is simply the breakdown of the larger molecules into smaller ones, and it occurs throughout the gastrointestinal tract. So it differs for things like carbs. The digestion starts right in the mouth with the salivary enzymes, but proteins doesn't happen so it differs from so and so. So the proteins and other substances are also required, like bile and hydrochloric acid, bile from the biliary ducts and gallbladder, HCl from the stomach. So these proteins will be broken down into amino acids. The fats will be broken down into fatty acids and monoglycerides. The starch, which is usually the carbs that we take, is broken down finally to glucose and then absorbed. So this digestion is not only a physical process, but it is under control of both the nervous system and the hormonal system. So for your health, when you're eating the things, like we are not devoid of any healthy things nowadays, but we are less resilient to diseases and less of health in us left, because digestion is under our nervous and hormonal control. So the nervous control and the hormonal control is lacking in the generation of today, because we are mentally a bit of stressed, because stress, as I said, we are stressed for everything. So that has to be calmed down. And the hormonal control needs a lot of other things. When all the things fall into place, then the hormones fall into place. So these are tiny little, what I call as rascals. Like they control everything, but they are least attention given, right? So for your food to be digested and absorbed, that is the bioavailability of your food happens when your nervous system and hormonal control is in place, right? So you know about the GI tract, nothing too much. So coming to the proteins, so what all happens in throughout the GI tract? First is the mouth. Here no significant digestion happens because there are no proteolytic enzymes. But chewing your food for a longer time in the mouth helps because more saliva is secreted and it helps for the mixing of the food and also easy peristalsis. So it reduces the other effects of fast eating like aerophagia or partial. You won't taste the food unless you chew it properly and your saliva is released and it spreads the food on your tongue and the taste buds gets so the taste buds develop after they are exposed to a certain taste. So the healthier things you will not find it tasty, but once, twice, thrice, maybe at the fifth time you will develop the taste buds for that taste, right? So you have to develop the taste. It's not like that it's not tasty. Don't blame the food. Blame the taste buds which have not been stimulated by that food, right? So the saliva helps for mixing of food as well as in the peristalsis. Digestion in the stomach, HCl, that is the hydrochloric acid which is present in the gastric juice is very important because it provides the pH for the activation of various enzymes which are present, okay? And it also has renin and pepsin. So right from the digestion stomach, you have to remember the enzymes, right? You have to remember the enzymes. I hope I'm not fast because it's quite an easy topic, so I'm just going through. Right from here, pay a little attention, okay? So you will have to remember the enzymes from the stomach. What are those? Renin and pepsin. In intestine, again, aided by the pancreatic enzymes, what are the aided? What all happens? So which are the main heroes of the story of digestion in intestine? They are secretin, cholecystokinin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase A and B, as well as elastase. So all these enzymes action and activation has to be remembered by you all. So again, this is a thing. Overview of digestion and absorption. What really happens before we go in detail? So in the oral, I know that the clarity of this slide is less, but very less material also. So I like the presentation here. Oral cavity, you don't find any digestion, esophagus, nothing happens. But once in stomach, the polypeptidases are broken down by the pepsin. And in small intestine, trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidases all will help in the digesting the proteins. And in the intestine, there is a facilitated diffusion and the co-transport happening where the amino acids will be transported, right? Fine, my battery was running down. So through this will give all the individual amino acids which are taken into the capillaries and into the bloodstream. So salivary gland, what are the juices that helps in salivary juice is the gastric juice, intestinal juice, the pancreatic juice and the hepatic fluids with all the enzymes. They help in the digestion of proteins. Coming to digestion in stomach. Simple, you have understood everything. I think so it is all in your subconscious mind, but once you have to put it as answers, you'll have to revise it. Right? Two important protein digesting enzymes. One is renin. You all know it is absent in adults, but it can be again made to produce, right? But in infants, it will cause a curdling of milk. How? Because it acts on the casein and it is converted with that pH into para-casein. Okay, that will allow it to be acted upon by the pepsin. So pepsin is secreted by the chief cells of the stomach it is along with the HCl, it is activated. It is called as auto activation, because under that pH, that is optimum pH of 1.5 to 2.2, few molecules of the pepsinogen will be broken down into pepsin. So once or two molecules, if that happens, the pepsin will activate the remaining pepsinogen to pepsin. So this is called as auto activation. Remember the words, auto activation of pepsinogen, right? And how does it the pepsin acts? Remember, it is an endopeptidase. Endopeptidase matlab it will cleave the internal peptide bonds. Which peptide bonds? Those peptide bonds which are formed by the carboxyl group of the aromatic amino acids. They are so specific. Enzymes definition itself is that they are specific. So they act endo, that is internal peptide bonds, and those bonds which are formed by the carboxyl group of the aromatic amino acids. So what do they form at the end? The products are the smaller peptides which are called as proteoses and peptones. What happens for the digestion in intestine? Stomach is done. From the stomach, the partially digested acidic contents, the acidic contents will move into the intestine, that is the early part of duodenum. They will stimulate the secretin and cholecystokinin production, the acidic part. So secretin will release all the water and bicarbonates from the mucosa, and then it will, bicarbonates, what it will do? It will neutralize the H plus ions, that is the hydrogen ions, and raises the pH from acidic to alkaline. And then cholecystokinin will stimulate the pancreatic enzyme with the zymogen form, that is, then it is activated to the active enzyme. So what are the activities, that is the actions of the pancreatic enzymes? Trypsinogen. So again it is different, the activation is different from the pepsin. There it was auto activation, but here trypsinogen, the first few molecules will be activated by the enterokinase, right? It's one of the enzymes, by the proteolysis. So once it is activated, what trypsin does is it will activate chymotrypsinogen into chymotrypsin pro-carboxypeptidases A and B into carboxypeptidases A and B, pro-elastase into elastase. So once the trypsinogen is acted upon enterokinase, it is getting converted into trypsin. And I have a lot of responsibility as trypsin, because I have to ask the chymotrypsinogen to get converted to chymotrypsin and make the pro-carboxypeptidases also into active form, and as also pro-elastase to elastase. So after activation, what each of these enzymes will do? You have to remember this, right? So they are different in action. Trypsin, it will act on peptide bonds. Which peptide bonds? The carboxyl group of the basic amino acids. So trypsin is basic, chymotrypsin is again aromatic, elastase is acting upon alanine, valine, isoleucine via elastase via, we remember. Carboxypeptidase A is hydrophobic amino acids, carboxypeptidase B is basic amino acids. So after the action of these enzymes, very small oligopeptides and free amino acids are produced. So remember the action of these enzymes. It's very easy to remember. What? Trypsin basic, chymotrypsin aromatic, so on and so forth. A bit of attention is required to remember this. So this is important, right? Others and all is like a story. So where you have to have biochemistry is, you shouldn't push that also as a story. These are required, like the specificity of those enzymes is required. So when again it is pushed further into the small intestine and enters the lower intestine, it mixes with the succus entericus. Succus entericus is the secretion of the intestines. So oligopeptidases, tripeptidases and dipeptidases, because it has already undergone digestion in the stomach and the upper intestine. So the lower intestine, here they come as smaller peptides. Again, these are broken down and constituent amino acids will be released and which will then be absorbed. So this happens. This is the overview of the protein digestion. So where do we start? Right. So this is all in the intestine. So this is the pepsinogen. It starts in the stomach. On action of HCl, pepsin. Again, we are giving this reverse arrow because it's auto activation, right? So this pepsin is an endopeptidases and acts on the aromatic amino acids. Trypsin, again carboxyl group of basic amino acids, chymotrypsin, aromatic amino acids, elastase, alanine, glycine and serine, carboxypeptidase A and B are these amino acids, basics as well as proelastase to elastase, chymotrypsinogen. These are the activations. So I think so you can incorporate this simple diagram instead of having a paragraph written. One easy line diagram can show the action of all the enzymes. Coming to absorption. So everything is being broken down. We just have amino acids, but not everything will be converted into amino acids. We have smaller peptides as well as like dipeptides, tripeptides. They are absorbed by the different mechanisms. So most of the amino acids are carried by an energy requiring process, that is the sodium amino acid co-transport. Remember this transport system. It is a sodium and an amino acid co-transport, which is an energy requiring process, requires energy in the form of ATP. Again, there are 5 different carriers for this. We have a transporter alag for acidic, transporter alag for basic, neutral amino acids, and for the other non-natural amino acids, that is the beta amino acids, right? So this is a diagram. This is a intestinal cell which has a villous lining. So this transporters are all present on the brush border, right? So when we enlarge this transporter, we can see if this transporter is a co-transporter with a sodium, that is the red circle, sodium, and these amino acids are of different, yellow, purple and blue. So they are co-transported into the intestinal cells. So in the intestinal cells, that has to be absorbed on the other side of the intestinal lining cells. So here comes the action of the ATP, right? Sodium potassium ATPase is here. So the amino acids will be thrown out into the capillaries and potassium enters the cell. Because sodiums will be transported out, the potassium will enter the cell. This is called as sodium amino acid co-transport, and they have two absorption has into the villous cell and from the villous cell to the capillaries. So the different transporters are there, as well as the associated disorders if these transporters don't work fine, right? The small neutral amino acids will transport alanine, serine and threonine. The transport system is transporter for neutral amino acids. We give it as. So Hartnup disease, it could be asked for 3 marks. And I want you to make up an answer for Hartnup disease, right? One point is that the transport system for alanine, serine and threonine is defective, right? Is not functioning properly. So what all happens in Hartnup disease? So that has to be taken. So the larger basic and acidic amino acids, if there is a transporter disorder, it is cystinuria. We will learn about it in future classes, but at present you can read about Hartnup disease because that is most commonly asked. The glycine and the amino acid will lead to glycinuria. These are amino acidureas. Amino acids in the urine will be excreted. They are the amino acidureas. The symptoms is going to be either due to increased amino acids in the urine, or those amino acids will not be available for protein synthesis within the body. So that could also be the source for the manifestations. Coming to the smaller peptides, they enter through the brush borders where they are hydrolyzed by the dipeptidases and the tripeptidases present in the villi. Then they are transported through the hepatic circulation, that is the portal circulation, into the systemic circulation. But however, take this, and this is a point to remember, larger peptides can be taken in by the transcellular, that is the direct uptake by the mucosal cells, or between the epithelial cells they can move on, that is paracellular, right? So these are the larger peptides which can lead to food allergies. Food allergies will be, these will not be digested into amino acids and enter as larger peptides, and this will stimulate the antibody formation. So why the food allergies are increasing nowadays, right? So food allergies will not only give you rashes and itchiness, but they are also reflected in your body composition. You could be more retaining more water. You could be deficient in those tissue proteins, right? So this is one more reason to chew your food properly and allow for mental peace, that is called as mindful eating. You should get your nervous system. You should not eat when you're excited. You should not eat when you're depressed, because most of the things, I'm not feeling well, I want a bar of chocolate. I'm not feeling well, I want a chocolava cake. And with ease of all this uh, takeaways and home deliveries, it's very easy to lay your hands on these things. So you should understand that all could lead to food allergies, right? Again, one more important topic is the Mester's cycle. If I am supposed to give I think so next class I'll be giving you all the 3 marks questions for this class. Hope so you will do it. Right, Mester's cycle is another 3 marks question, right? So the absorption and transport of amino acids happens through Mester's cycle. So we'll see what is this Mester's cycle. Very important. I can ask you for 5 marks also. So I would request all of you to by heart this slide. This will fetch you 5 marks. Even if it is for 5 marks, you will get all the 5 marks, right? So we'll where all it functions. It functions in the intestine, kidney tubules and the brain. What it really helps is for the neutral amino acids, and it requires glutathione. Glutathione is the mother of all antioxidants, we call. Glutathione is, I think so, Nilima ma'am was taking free radical. So there also the glutathione was the hero. So understand how it all affects stress and the Mr. cycle. So it is the requirement of this glutathione and energy for this absorption. So we'll come to the figure proper if you are able to see. So again we have this cell. This cell could be of intestine, could be of kidney tubules, or could be across the brain cell. So here the membrane is there. In the membrane there is an enzyme called as gamma glutamyl transpeptidase, which is a transferase. It transfers the thing across the membrane. So this is important, gamma glutamyl transferase or transpeptidase. So remember this enzyme, right? The Mr. cycle is functioning because of gamma glutamyl transpeptidase. So we have an amino acid waiting outside the membrane. I would like to get it in. So I have this glutathione. Glutathione itself is a 3 marks or a 5 marks question. So I hope so you know everything about glutathione. Glutathione is made up of 3 amino acids, glutamate, cysteine and glycine, which is present at the gamma. So it is usually in alpha, right? So here it is a pseudo amino acid. It is a gamma glutamyl cysteine glycine. It's a tripeptide. So glutathione in the presence of gamma glutamyl transpeptidase will take the amino acid in as glutamyl amino acid, leaving the cysteine glycine, which will be broken down into glycine and cysteine, and it will be regenerated. So this glutamyl amino acid will again leave the amino acid inside the cell and will get converted into oxoproline, which utilizing the ATP and the oxoprolinase again will be regenerating the glutamate. This glutamate along with this glycine and cysteine and 2 ATPs again regenerates the gamma glutamyl cysteine glycine. So here glutathione is not utilized, it is regenerated. Each and every amino acid is welcomed into the cell without the glutathione undergoing any change. So we have all these amino acids in our body. Then they form a free amino acid pool from which all the protein synthesis through the translation happen. So this dietary pool of amino acid has got the proteins from diet as well as from the degradation of the tissue proteins. So coming to the closing of this chapter, that is of nitrogen balance. As I said, it could be a 3 marks or a 5 marks question. We know that proteins are the major source of nitrogen. So whenever a person is supposed to be healthy, that is, he's not sick and he's not unhealthy per se on the overnutrition, he is supposed to be nitrogen balance. That is, the amount of the intake should match the amount of the catabolism of the proteins. So we have two kinds of balance. Normal balance, we are not talking, it has to be healthy. Positive nitrogen balance, when the intake exceeds the excretion, that is growing children, pregnant women, convalescence patients, they are supposed to be in positive nitrogen balance. And negative nitrogen balance, when the intake is less and the excretion is more. Old age, starvation, chronic diseases like where the metabolic rate is going to be higher, like in cancer, terminal illness, hyperthyroidism, can lead to negative nitrogen balance. So coming to the end of this chapter, so the highlights has to be the, we'll go backwards, nitrogen balance. You have to read the nitrogen. Let me check if you are here. All of you are with me? At least those who don't have the attention span, give me 2 minutes, I'll tell you what all to read. You can read by yourself from the text. Are you here, people?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
5 minutes you give, I'll tell you what all to remember from this chapter. One is the nitrogen balance. Taken? Taken nitrogen balance, prepare a 5 marks question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is amino acid pool. Just remember, okay? Could be possible in 3 marks. Gamma glutamyl cycle, right? The Mister cycle, you will have to prepare an answer and be ready. I think so these PowerPoints will be given. I don't mind if you just copy that slide. I want you to put as many diagrams in your answers. The first internal essay was a cakewalk for you all, right? MCQs without negative marking. What else can you ask for? Right? But don't rest on those marks, please. Okay? You need to buck up and work hard for your sake, right? So gamma glutamyl cycle, I want the whole slide to be practiced by you all. Okay, then you can just this Hartnup disease, if possible, can make a 3 marks answer. And this you have to remember, the transporters and the action of all the enzymes. Remember the enzymes, their activation and their action. That's it, right? This slide, the role of the enzymes. Others all, they are just a cakewalk. Fine. I hope so. It clears, right? It clears and makes way for the long chapter. See, I am very low on enthusiasm. So if you all don't respond, I'm just going to faster with the metabolism of proteins. Unless you respond to whatever I ask you all to do, I'm just going to take as others would. Like, I'll just move about with the metabolism. That's going to be really tough for you all, and it carries a lot of weightage. If you have the syllabus with you all, you can go through the metabolism of proteins. In CBME is above the metabolism. That is, you have to understand the diseases associated with the metabolism. That will happen only when you understand the metabolism, and that will happen only when you understand the amino acids, right? They are the people whom we are dealing with. So understand the people and then you can manipulate them, right? Understand how they are metabolized. Fine, that's the end of my class. Hoping for you all that you have followed it, and especially above the class, it's the instructions for the next classes that I want you all to follow. Fine. Okay, we'll take a leave, right? Shall I leave? Everyone, you already left or what?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, take care. Hmm?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right, it is uninterrupted, right? The classes go uninterrupted or you won't hear sometimes in between. They're all fine from my end?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes,
Hmm?
ma'am.
Bye. Bye.